Aloha! Are you ready to make green goddess dressing and dip? Brought to you by Wisdom Flow Yoga on the Go Cleanse. You can stop this video at any time to get more information, like here, the shopping list, the recipe. You're going to need a blender, a good blender. I hope you have a Vitamix. Now, we're going to start by making sure we have our herbs all cleaned. I wash mine in a little hydrogen peroxide and then give them a good spin in the lettuce spinner and then let them lay out and get a little bit dry. Now, set up your blender, and the first thing you're going to do is put in the olive oil. You're making a big batch, so you're adding a cup of olive oil. Next, you'll add half a cup of tahini, which is sesame seed paste. And sometimes, like peanut butter, the oily part goes to the top and the thick part goes to the bottom. So you may need to use a spoon to stir it up. I've already stirred mine up. So half a cup of tahini. Next, you're going to add apple cider vinegar, and sometimes that needs to be shaken up too. 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. Now, of course, you can see here that I'm not measuring, but I've been working in the kitchen all my life, so I can eyeball these measurements. But I want you to use the measuring tools. Next, we have the water. Now, half a cup of water. The water is going to depend on how thick you want the dressing. If you want to use it more as a dip, then less water. It's also going to depend on how thick your tahini is, because that also varies. So thicker tahini is going to need more water. Next, we have Bragg's liquid aminos, 1/3 of a cup of Bragg's liquid aminos. You can find that in any of your health food stores. Next, we're going to add the ginger. Now, I keep a tub of prepped out ginger that I have pulverized in my Cuisinart, but you may be adding the big chunks, which is fine, because if you're using a Vitamix, the blades will chop it up. But I've got this ginger that is already minced, and a clove of garlic you can also add too. That's optional. Some people don't like garlic. Add a sweet element to the tanginess of this dressing. I recommend 2 dates, but here I'm out of dates, so I'm using some local honey. I'm just going to put in 2 tablespoons of local honey. The sweet with the tangy, so good for this dressing. But dates really do work the best, and they're the best for you. So if you have them, use dates. Make sure you take the pits out. Next, we're going to add an onion element, and I'm getting the tender insides of a yellow onion, just about 1/3 of a big onion. You can also use, as the recipe on this video says, green onions, and that's a little bit more mild and fresh flavor. Now for the spices. 1 tablespoon of cumin powder. If you don't like the peppery taste, then pull it back to a teaspoon. You can also add some black pepper if you like that more peppery flavor. You don't need to add salt because the Bragg's liquid aminos have all of the healthy sodium elements for this dressing. Okay, so now everything but the herbs, you're going to blenderize until smooth. It's good to get everything but the herbs nice and smooth and integrated so that when the bigger fibrous herbs go in, they don't have competition for the blades. You can really get them pulled down to the bottom of the blender. So you should get sort of a creamy colored, smooth texture before you add the herbs. Okay, now put the herbs in. Loads of herbs. A full cleaned bunch of parsley. You want to take the thick stems off the parsley. The cilantro stems are nice and tender, so you can put those right in. Now with dill, the stems tend to be a little fibrous and bitter, so you want to pull the feathery bits off of the stems. And 3 big sprigs. And again, with the taste of these herbs, you'll start to feel what's best for you. And some people like more dill or just a light touch of dill. But the feathery parts of 3 sprigs of dill, a full bunch of cilantro as it comes in your grocery store, farmer's market, and a full bunch of parsley. So loads of herbs. Yeah, you'll be packing the blender pretty much to the top, and you'll see all the green on top and that creamy liquid below. And then you'll blend it all together. So make sure you put the cap on snug, because things can go flying. All right, and then you're going to let it go for a while, right? Make sure it's pulling all the herbs down into the blades. Sometimes you have to stop and stir it around. But once you can see that everything's being pulled into the blades, then you're going to let it run for a while, maybe even a full minute. You want things to become very green and creamy. So you can let it go for a bit and tend to some other tasks in the kitchen and then come back to it in a minute. Okay, and there you have your thick, green, delicious green goddess dressing or dip. Store it in jars and serve it with pleasure. Find out more about the Wisdom Flow Yoga on-the-go cleanse programs by visiting wisdomflowyoga.com/cleanse. Aloha.